So after having my computer implode, I'm in the mood to recommend some stuff I've been reading and watching as of late, starting with Hana, also known as The Flowers of Evil. In brief, Hana is a psychological drama primarily about three middle schoolers, Takao Kasuga, Nanako Saeki, and Sawa Nakamura, and how the trajectory of their lives are changed after Kasuga steals Saeki's gym clothing on impulse. The author, Shuzo Oshimi, is known for works that explore the torture of adolescence, which is perhaps in sharp contrast to more nostalgic, rose-tinted stories often created by authors wanting to relive their childhoods. Indeed, while Hana is not autobiographical, he did base many of the details around his own experiences growing up. All this combined creates a story and characters that I find extremely relatable, and you can see as the manga goes along, Oshimi gets a better handle on both his artwork and underlying thematics, closely mirroring the characters going from nihilistic outcasts to fully realized individuals. It's honestly kind of quaint that this manga attained the reputation of being taboo or something. You know, all those clickbait video essay titles saying you should stay away from it or not read it since it's too disturbing. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of creepy and disturbing material in here, particularly caused by Nakamura, but it's not included just for the sake of being edgy or shocking. A major theme of the story is how teenagers often interpret regular thoughts and emotions as perverted or sinful, brought on by social pressures which make contextualizing them and understanding themselves difficult or even impossible. While the manga's title is in reference to a collection of Baudelaire's poetry by the same name, it's also referring to the characters having a growing sense of their own impulses and how those conflict with society. Through expectations born from archetypal writing, you'd expect Nakamura and her terrible manipulations to be a driving force which corrupts Kasuga away from a pure and simple life of Saeki, but as it goes on, this black and white binary is revealed as artificial. Kasuga describes himself as a void, which he attempts to fill with pretension and poetry, but it's only when committing symbolic acts against the structures he's trapped within alongside Nakamura that he feels any sense of liberation. I won't go further so as to let you discover things yourself, but overall the manga provides some really valuable insights on what exactly drives people to want to be different, and how to help fill a void with meaning. Hana is one of my favorite mangas, and I highly recommend it, although I would be mindful of content warnings. What's really cool is that it received an anime adaptation in 2013, directed by Hiroshi Nagahama, and I unironically think it's one of the best anime ever made.
Hana ga saita yo. Hana ga saita yo. ひどく風に怯えた誰も見たことない花が咲いていたよ。
While you may be familiar with Nagahama due to the Studio Botched Uzumaki adaptation, that only scratches the surface of just how influential of a creator he really is. He directed and wrote the Mushishi anime adaptation in Detroit Metal City. He was a designer and animation director for Revolutionary Girl Utena, not to mention doing work on record of Lotus War, Fruits Basket, Guilty Crown, Now and Then, Here and There, the 1993 Alita Battle Angel OVA, the 2000 JoJo OVA, and hell, even that X-Men anime that was part of that Marvel anime initiative in 2010. I bet you didn't even know this was made, and you know what? It's sick as hell, go watch it. Anyway, the point is that Nagahama is an extremely talented and versatile director, which makes it all the more disappointing that for a long time, the discussion around the Hana anime was primarily focused on its use of rotoscoping for its animation, alongside art style changes that are very different from Oshimi's work. Combine that with its slow, methodical pacing, and the misfortune of debuting next to Attack on Titan at a cavalcade of more stereotypical school anime, and it was effectively buried before most people even gave it a chance. While this perception of the show has slowly changed, with most folks now calling it a hidden gem, it's hard not to be frustrated still over the initial reaction due to how it hangs over and clouds current discussions. So let's go over the animation. One of the major advantages of rotoscoping is that it's possible to have movement analogous to real life, since after all, the direct base is real life footage that is being drawn over. Thus, many scenes have a lot of subtle character movement as a result of this, and the boiling effect, the variations in lines from trying to match the footage. It's fairly difficult to animate anything super complex perfectly smoothly without a lot of extra work, which is why shows will only use the greatest effort when it's a big fight scene or character moment or something. This is also why examples of good rotoscoped anime that aren't 3D are almost entirely sequences that would be a nightmare to animate by hand, such as accurately playing an instrument or a dance. However, just because rotoscoping is typically only used for specific scenes like this doesn't mean it's simple to implement, as the labor involved can be just as demanding as traditional. Nakahama noted in an interview that due to the nature of the process, it became impossible to make reductions in the amount of workload required to meet a deadline, since skipping frames would cause it to feel unnatural. This is a challenge that dates back all the way to Snow White in 1937, or even earlier, since the difficulty of animating realistic people required the use of rotoscoping in order to feel right. All that said, I honestly really love the animation in this. Akeno Hana is an intense, character-driven drama with little in the way of the fantastical, so it makes sense to choose a style that is very grounded in order to highlight the mature subject matter in the material. It's what makes the debates around the different art styles between the manga and anime so frustrating, since the mediums are so fundamentally different that trying to keep the same style probably wouldn't have worked as well as this more experimental approach. Like sure, they could have just tried translating the manga panels as accurately as possible the way the JoJo anime does, but even JoJo makes logical changes based on what would work better for a given scene. Pages of manga can't function as a storyboard for a show on their own. For many projects, you effectively need to deconstruct them and rearrange in service to adaptation. The decompressed nature of Akeno Hana's anime calls to mind something like Onisama E. The respective original mangas are pretty highly compressed since you can linger on each panel for as long as you need to. While it's not possible to translate the exact feeling as the manga to animation, attempting to focus on the individual meaning of each scene is one way to approximate it. Despite only adapting 20 chapters, Akeno Hana's narrative still feels full because of the choice to sit within the emotional texture. The extended shots of walking around and holds after powerful moments call to mind some of the directorial choices of Utena or Evangelion, forcing the viewer to consider the weight of each scene rather than passing by unfocused. Every small detail and moment feels considered. It's genuinely some of the best adaptational work I've ever seen. Like, that's not even getting into just how good the acting and voice work are. Maria Issei's voice performance as Nakamura in particular is so insanely good. She nails the balance between her sweet schoolgirl persona and serious emotional problems, making it hard to tell what she's thinking, which helps you get into Kasuka's headspace.
なんか俺余計な口出ししちゃったかもしれないけど、でも犯人にされなくてよかった。え？
春日君、なんか隠してない？春日君は私と契約したんだよ。だから何もかも全部さらけ出さなきゃいけないの。何もかも。どう？
何も隠してないよ。隠してるわけないじゃん。やだな。
わかった。
The music by Hideyuki Fukasawa is also stellar. I've been playing it in the background the whole time. Great blend of atmospheric and horror-bent tracks, some great tone centers, and those opening and ending themes, man, all-timers. The only real flaw with the series is the fact that they were only able to do one season. The last episode ends with a collage of future events that I absolutely would have loved to see adapted, but the project's commercial failure means that'll never happen. Still, what's here is fantastic, and is highly recommended even if you end up reading the manga anyway to finish the story. Wrapping things up, we have the live-action movie from 2019, which adapts the entire story in a 2-hour runtime, a fact that should send chills down your spine. If the anime really took its time to have every small moment be felt in their entirety, then the film is the exact polar opposite by discarding nearly all of the story's connective tissue in favor of cramming together every major event in sequence. There's not a single moment to breathe, which just doesn't work for the type of story it's going for. It's a shame too, since the director, Noboru Uguchi, has the sauce when it comes to making grindhouse-style features that could have lent itself well to some of the darker psychological aspects here. But whether from lack of time or what, that just did not translate here. If anything, the goofier grindhouse moments end up giving major tonal whiplash. Like, what the hell even was the music choice for the classroom scene? That being said, this isn't an actively bad adaptation so much as a middling and disappointing one. Luckily, Ibuchi will be getting a second chance with a live-action television adaptation coming out this year that I just found out existed while writing the script, so maybe they'll end up being good. Still, I can't help but feel the definitive version will remain the manga and anime. There's just so many intricate and creative choices in them that I don't see being replicated. In summary, Akuno Hana is a story I find to be incredibly impactful and highly recommend to those who are interested in a really deep look at the trauma of being a teenager. Read the manga and watch the anime. Cautiously watch the film if you're curious. Have a nice day. See you later.
花が咲いたよ花が咲いたよひどく